Hi, my name is Melinda. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer specializing in extensive restorative art, oversize embalming, undersize embalming, and embalming for the most natural results possible. I was part of a team that was ranked #1 out of over 2,500 funeral homes in appearance of deceased as judged by families. I'm also a fine artist. I painted these two things above my shoulders, and I am a portrait artist. I'm doing a series on embalming from an artistic perspective as well as technical perspective to pass on my tips and tricks to anybody who may or may not be interested. I wanted to talk about femoral embalming today. In the textbook, it does state carotid as the best and most efficient embalming route because there can be issues with the femoral. But there are ways that I've found to offset this issue with femoral embalming. The carotid definitely has its place, and there are times where there's no avoiding using it, especially in oversized cases. I actually do restricted cervical injection for oversized cases, and one day I'll explain why in a different video. And when cases are particularly challenging or in poor condition, I do tend to go for the carotid. But many times the femoral can be used successfully if certain techniques are applied. The advantages of a femoral embalming include we don't have to struggle so much with clothing and alterations when we go through the femoral, and this saves us time with restructuring clothing to hide any incisions that we make with the carotid for that person who is dressing the deceased. And also I think it benefits the families because a lot of times, even for men, more and more often I'm seeing men in more casual clothing for their wake or their viewing, because that's just the kind of person that the deceased was, where they were more casual dresser. And with casual clothing, a lot of times we have lower necklines. And of course with women, a lot of women wear dresses or, elaborate clothing that does have lower necklines. It is harder to use the femoral when you're not used to doing it, but in my opinion, it's worth it. There is a learning curve, as there was with the carotid, I believe, for anybody, but having it in your toolkit for embalming is, I find, very useful. So for a straight case that doesn't really present too many challenges when doing the femoral, my way of making the femoral the best it can be for injection is what I do after I mix my embalming fluid is I take a leftover bottle from the embalming fluid and I place it directly under the femoral incision for the duration of the embalming. This creates a better angle for the embalming fluid to flow properly, as well as for return to be released more efficiently, and it really increases how much distribution I'm getting when I'm using the femoral. A lot of times if we don't put something to bolster underneath the femur head of the leg, we can get poor femoral distribution. And that is the way that I've found to offset that issue. And it totally changes the return I get and the distribution I get and circulation I get with embalming fluid. That's kind of to the point. I hope that this was helpful to you. I found it helpful. It was very transformative for me. Thank you for watching. I guess that's the video. If you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer them. I am across platforms as Artful Embalming. My name is Melinda again. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day. See ya.